Today, we're going to try and cut through a lot of the noise, a lot of the gossip, and go right to the source material.
We're looking at legal filings.
Specifically, documents that came out during the big contractual dispute over Château Miraval.
Right, the French winery.
Oh.
What was once this joint venture between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt.
And the headlines, they really focus on the business side of it at first, just a spat over who could sell what.
But that's not where the story stayed. As our sources show, when Jolie's legal team filed their responses, their counter motions, well, this business fight suddenly became the framework.
The framework for what, exactly?
For revealing this whole series of very personal claims she had been making against her former husband, allegations that go back years through their marriage and into the separation.
And that's the pivot. That's what this deep dive is all about. Our whole mission here is to synthesize the most important pieces of information from these court records. We're basically acting as impartial navigators, just exploring what exactly one side put on the record in a very public legal forum.
And that context is so vital for you, the listener, to keep in mind. I mean, it really bears repeating.
Go on.
These are claims. They're presented by one party, Angelina Jolie, and it's all within the context of these legal proceedings. Brad Pitt has denied several of the big allegations, and the whole thing is still very contested.
So we're not here to determine the truth?
No, not at all. We are here to analyze the structure and the content of the claims that really form the foundation of her legal argument.
Okay, let's unpack this. So if we look at the filings, they really seem to frame everything around one specific event, this definitive breaking point.
They do. It's the moment they present as making the partnership both personal and professional just completely untenable.
The alleged incident on a private plane in 2016.
That's the one.
So what kind of picture did the court documents actually paint of that event?
They paint a picture of, of sudden and pretty profound volatility. The sources specify this alleged moment of physical aggression.
Directed by Pitt toward Jolie.
Right. And this allegation is absolutely foundational. It's because it provides a very specific, very immediate justification for everything she did next.
Including filing for divorce, which happened pretty soon after that.
Exactly. And there's another detail in there that gives the claim enormous weight, especially in a divorce filing.
The fact that it happened in front of some of their children.
Mm-hmm. That detail shifts the whole dynamic. It moves the allegation from being, a private domestic dispute into something else entirely.
It becomes a claim about the safety of the entire family environment.
That is a critical distinction, and you can see the legal strategy hinging on it. They needed to demonstrate that the environment had become unsafe.
So it wasn't just the one alleged physical moment.
No. The sources suggest that was paired immediately with other allegations, that during that same flight, Pitt shouted at and verbally mistreated the children. And in the filings, the combination of those two things, it makes the argument that the behavior wasn't just, a moment of anger. It was a display of conduct that, from her perspective, necessitated an immediate exit.
For the protection of the family.
That's the argument.
So it all starts with this very high-stakes, specific incident. But, if that's just the flashpoint, the filings then seem to zoom out.
Exactly. The case doesn't just rely on one moment. The filings synthesize that specific incident with allegations of a much longer-term pattern.
A pattern that characterized the breakdown of the relationship.
Yes. The sources point very specifically to ongoing issues with alcohol abuse. In document after document, Jolie has alleged that Pitt's long-term struggle with alcohol played this central destructive role.
Creating instability that endangered the family over time.
That's the claim. And then it broadens even further.
Right, because we're moving from the immediate danger in 2016 to the long-term context.
Yeah.
And the filings start to include alleged behavior that doesn't leave physical scars.
It does. Beyond the physical aggression and the substance issues, the documents detail claims of emotional abuse.
Meaning what, specifically?
Jolie alleged a pattern of behavior that created significant psychological distress, fear, and an environment of alleged control inside the household.
The strategic importance of establishing that kind of pattern, the alcohol, the emotional control, that seems massive.
It's huge. It allows her legal team to argue that the 2016 incident wasn't just some random event. It was, in their telling, the unavoidable consequence of these underlying dangerous issues that had been eroding the relationship for years.
So the personal safety claim becomes the necessary context for the eventual legal fight over the assets, over the winery.
Exactly. The argument is she didn't just decide to leave a marriage. She fled an allegedly unsafe environment. And that foundation, It's fascinating. It provides the legal and emotional justification for severing all ties.
Which then sets the stage for the massive business conflict over Miraval. Here's where it gets really interesting. The narrative seems to shift now. It moves from these deeply personal allegations to the actual, legal and financial battle, specifically over the winery.
Right.
We know Jolie secured a recent win on the contractual rights to sell her share. But how did the personal allegations of abuse and volatility get so tangled up with the business fight over a vineyard?
Well, according to Jolie's filings, the business dispute became the arena for post-separation retaliation.
Retaliation.
Yes. Her team argued that Pitt wasn't just trying to protect his financial interests in Miraval. He was, allegedly, using his position as the majority stakeholder to punish her.
Punish her for what? For filing for divorce.
For filing for divorce and for bringing the abuse claims to light. That's the argument.
Okay, let's talk specifics on that. The filings mentioned financial retaliation. What were the tangible actions she claimed he took?
The documents allege a concerted effort to block her financially.
Yeah.
Specifically, Jolie claimed Pitt actively tried to block business deals related to the winery and refused to negotiate a fair, clean separation of the asset after she filed.
So her assertion is that this wasn't just tough business negotiation.
No, the claim is that it was a deliberate effort to inflict financial pain, a direct response to her decision to separate.
Then the timing there feels really key. The sources seem to emphasize that Pitt's aggressive legal strategy with Miraval allegedly started after she filed for divorce.
And that's the entire legal framing for this part of the argument. It's what transforms a standard asset division dispute into a claim of strategic, calculated post-separation harm.
But the most crucial intersection where the personal and the professional just completely merge has to be the non-disclosure agreements.
The NDAs. Yes. This is where a deep dive really helps provide context.
Because lots of high-profile separations involve NDAs.
Right.
For confidentiality, protecting financial data.
Of course. That's standard. But what was allegedly unique about the NDAs Pitt tried to get her to sign in the context of the Miraval sale is the core of this conflict.
Yeah, what was that?
The court documents allege that Pitt tried to force Jolie into signing NDAs that went way, way beyond typical business confidentiality.
So not just about protecting the French wine recipe.
Not at all. The claim is that the true purpose of these agreements was specifically to prevent her from ever speaking publicly.
About the alleged abuse.
About the alleged physical and emotional abuse that had occurred during the marriage.
Wow. I mean, according to her claims, that's basically using a financial settlement to legally bury serious personal allegations. That puts immense pressure on someone.
It does, and it raises this really fascinating legal question about using NDAs in domestic contexts. If the claims are accurate, it turns a business settlement into a tool for narrative control, for silence.
So her decision to refuse to sign and then to sell her share to a third party, which is what triggered this whole lawsuit.
It was all predicated on her belief that accepting that NDA would be, complicity. Complicity in covering up what she claims is the truth about the relationship.
And the filings also say the retaliation didn't stop there.
No, her filings also assert that his legal team and his public relations efforts were designed to portray her as vindictive, unstable, or irrational.
Which would actively harm her public image, her professional standing.
Exactly. So if you connect all those allegations, a picture emerges of this multifaceted strategy. First, establish a pattern of alleged control in the marriage. Second, use financial leverage, the winery, to enforce silence with these restrictive NDAs. And third, manage the public narrative to limit the impact of her claims.
The business dispute over Miraval became the means to fight for control over the separation story itself.
That's the argument. It elevates the stakes from just a property quarrel to a fundamental battle over reputation and really over agency.
Okay, shifting to the final part of these claims, we need to look at the core argument about family and accountability, which is, often the most painful part of any legal fight that involves children.
Always.
What do the sources say about the toll this has all taken?
The filings address the family impact directly. Jolie emphasized in her legal assertions that the prolonged high-conflict legal maneuvering has had a profoundly negative emotional effect on their children.
And not just the divorce itself, but all the fights that came after?
Right. The subsequent fights over the winery over custody. She argued that throughout all these proceedings, there has been a prioritization of strategic control over the necessary work of family healing.
That's a direct challenge to the idea that both parties are acting in the best interests of the kids. It It kind of positions the conflict as a zero-sum game for the adults.
Precisely. And that leads directly into the claims about accountability itself.
How so?
The filings are very pointed in their assertions about Pitt's response. Jolie's team argues that he has never fully taken responsibility for the actions that she alleges.
That instead, his focus has been on
restoring his public reputation, on maintaining this carefully controlled image, rather than accepting the validity of her concerns about the family environment and his behavior.
So the argument is that the priority became managing the damage to his brand, not addressing the damage to the family unit.
That's the essence of it. And then there's the final overarching claim that really wraps up the entire emotional and ethical framework of her legal stance.
And that is?
The claim of a profound betrayal of trust. The documents describe Pitt's alleged conduct as a betrayal, not just a failure within a difficult marriage,
but as a partner who allegedly failed to uphold the fundamental values of respect and protection for their family.
Exactly. And that framing, it goes so far beyond a simple breach of contract in the Miraval case. It's an argument about a moral failure that, in her view, permeates every single legal decision that came after.
So what does this all mean?
Well, what we have to synthesize here is that the Miraval dispute, while it's technically about property rights and contract law, it became the mechanism, the vehicle through which these far deeper, very contested claims about alleged abuse, retaliation, and control were injected into the public record.
And while Jolie did secure a contractual win, which is significant,
that business victory is separate. It is separate from a final legal judgment on every personal claim she has made. We have to be clear about that. Those personal allegations, they remain denied and disputed by Pitt's camp.
But the importance of this case, it really goes far beyond celebrity assets. I mean, the source material highlights these huge issues.
It does. It touches on power, the weaponization of NDAs, the financial pressure that can be exerted on a departing spouse, and accountability in these really high-profile relationships.
And when details this specific emerge through court records, even if they're only one side's allegations, they become part of the larger cultural discussion.
Absolutely. Because of the global visibility here, the arguments about alleged financial manipulation and the attempt to silence abuse claims through NDAs, they resonate far outside of Hollywood.
They force a broader societal conversation.
They do. A conversation about the legal tools used to manage reputation versus the need for transparency and accountability when serious allegations are on the table.
This deep dive has really, I think, pulled apart the layers of a contractual dispute to show the high-stakes personal battle that was underneath it all.
It's a powerful illustration of how intertwined personal crises and professional conflicts can become when power and fame are involved.
So since the full truth remains so heavily contested in ongoing legal disputes, here's a provocative thought for you to carry forward. Consider how the ability of one party to exert massive financial and reputational influence, as is alleged in these filings, shapes the legal process itself. Does power create an inherent imbalance that the courts struggle to rectify, regardless of what the ultimate findings are?
That question highlights exactly why these sources are so critical. They force us to look beyond the celebrity and examine the mechanics of power in a separation.
Thank you for joining the deep dives. We'll see you next time.